opposition na government watem. Ipla stop long this plow. Walk stop long an blom ipla, help him ipla, give him good pla thinking. Or talk blom ipla. Plan blom ipla long this pla country. God big pla, me ask him you can steer him ipla. Talk blom ipla long this pla day you help him. Ipla can talk long way by country can send his long. And ipla can read him this pla country long good pla way God you like him long. Me pray na put him this pla day want them, this pla season, come back long and blow you. Help him speak up long ipla. Help him all people long ipla. Some blow stop long heavy long some bla. Some blow lose him plenty life. Big pla God me ask him, belisi blow you can stop on them all. Help him ipla long this pla day. How long ipla can help him this pla problem. Big pla God, you big pla you stop all time. We pray and ask him you long this pla day, you can lead him ipla. Ipla make him this pla pray where Jesus you've been lining me langan. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive them that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power and glory, forever and ever. Amen. Clerk, any petitions? Notices? Clerk?
The Minister for Justice and Attorney General gives notice that they shall present a proposed law to alter the organic law and certain constitutional office holders and for related purposes. The Minister for Justice and Attorney General gives notice that they shall present a proposed law to alter the organic law and national and local level government elections and for related purposes. The Minister for Justice and Attorney General gives notice that he shall present a proposed law to alter the organic law and the integrity of political parties and candidates and for related purposes. The Minister for Justice and Attorney General gives notice that he shall present a proposed law to alter the Constitution and for related purposes.
Honorable members, question time. The Honorable Member for Sinisina Yangumo.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. My question this morning goes to the Minister for Police. In 2012, when the current Prime Minister was the then Minister for Finance, he wrote twice to the then Secretary of Finance asking that a certain law firm be paid outstanding legal fees. In the first letter of 3rd October 2012, he said this, and I quote, he said a number of things asking for payment, but pertinently he said, and I quote, you are directed to request the department. You are directed to request the Department of Treasury for a special warrant to be released to settle the said lawyer's legal bills. Then in the same letter, he issued a...
Honorable Member for Sinisina, that's a point of order. Prime Minister.
I think standing order doesn't prevent matters that are before court and matters that are submitted as evidence before court. I may be wrong, but I'm just putting that to you. This is a matter that is now presently before court.
Honorable Member for Sinisina Yangumul, I think the Prime Minister's...
May I reply to that before you make a ruling?
Honorable Member, no, I would not. I'll make a ruling from here. I'll confirm this with Clerk.
You cannot suppress a legitimate question from being raised.
Honourable Member, I'll ask you to resume your seat and I'll make a decision on the point of order made by the Prime Minister. Honourable Member, the point of order raised by Prime Minister is in order. Being informed by clerk that this matter is before court, we cannot discuss it here on the floor of Parliament, so I will rule that question out.
The Prime Minister is not in court.
The Honourable Member for Okapa.
On behalf of the people of Okapa, and while the opposition is excited about asking questions and things in court, let me ask a very important question. Mr. Speaker, my question with notice is directed to the Minister for Higher Education, Science and Sports. I also asked that the Minister for Labour and Immigration and Minister for Agriculture to take note. My questions are in relation to skills development for our Papua New Guineans and the definitions of employment and unemployment, which has been debated on both sides of the House. Mr. Speaker, what is the true definition of employment and unemployment in PNG context? Mr. Speaker, my understanding is that being employed is when employers have formal jobs and receive formal salaries, wages. Being unemployed is opposite, that can be regarded as self-employed in PNG context. Mr. Speaker, as you are aware, 97% of our people live in rural areas. 3% of our people own the land, some private and individual. That means that most of them live off the land, and the land provides them food, shelter, money has been self-sufficient, and so they can be regarded as self-employed. Most of the self-employed are villagers, youths and dropouts from the formal education. Mr. Speaker, today we have many secondary schools and higher education institutions, but we lack more emphasis on skills development such as agriculture through trade skills, so that our students may have more specialized skills for the job markets and trade SME business. Mr. Speaker, the Medium-Term Development Plan 4, which has been recently launched, emphasized on the sector priority area 4, on quality education and skilled human resource capital. Mr. Speaker, my concern is the upskilling of villagers, youths and dropouts. Can we establish life skill programs in our formal education system and make this compulsory so that students are better equipped and can become self-employed when they return home? Can we also ensure that the dropouts and youths are properly trained through TVWAN system and life skills courses on our rural districts, and can this be formally established by the Department of Higher Education, Science and Sports? Mr. Speaker, does the department have plans to invest in skills deficiency or skill gaps so that we can cut down and bring in foreign personnel to fill in the job requirements and deficiency in our job markets in the country? Mr. Speaker, does the department have plans for more secondary technical schools in the country and second chance education development for our employment, youth and citizens? Mr. Speaker, to conclude, I also want to represent my people of Okapa to pass my sincere condolences to the late Minister, Member for Usunamondi, for his unsudden passing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Minister for Higher Education.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. And the questions asked me by the member for Okapa are the questions in this country, and has been the question in this country ever since, and will be the questions that any government will answer. And I have programs there. I did give ministerial statements several times on the National Quality Framework. I did also give on the research and science we're doing in the skill areas. I also did talk about the programs, the academic curriculum in the universities, and also did talk about the technical vocational education training colleges and nursing and teachers colleges training programs. I did give statements to that, but these questions are quite detailed and they're very, very important. I can give an answer off the top of my mind, but I don't want to do that. There was another question that was asked me by the governor of Manus, which I did give him a detailed written answer to him, but I'm yet to give the answer to the Parliament like I indicated earlier on. So I'll take these questions in detail. I've recorded them, and these are very important questions that do matter to this country. These are the issues. I'll address them tomorrow in a written advice in form of answer to the member and to through the people, through this honorable house, because these are not just any other questions. This is where this country's challenges. Everything else that we're talking about, it comes down to nothing but a human being, and how is that human being skilled? I think that is where this country's salvation is. Salvation of this country is in the skilling of the human being, and I'd like to answer probably tomorrow as per some of the government programs that I have been giving on this floor of Parliament in terms of the statement. So thank you very much, Acting Speaker, for giving me this time. Thank you, Member Okama, for these questions.
The Honourable Member for Rabaul.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker and Acting Speaker. I have spoken to the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister about this concern, and he has told me what he thinks. But I think the issue, the problem is of national importance. So I would...
Could please speak a bit louder? My microphone is not working, so I can listen.
Honourable Member, continue on. You speak up. I think the Deputy Prime Minister's earpiece is not well, so...
Sorry, true. Something on, but I don't know. Yeah, and my question is for the Deputy Prime Minister to respond to. He gave me a response already, but I think the issue is of national importance. And if you could just briefly explain again on the floor of this Parliament, so that everyone out there listening may be able to catch what the solution could be to the question. Mr. Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Acting Speaker, my question is in relation to land shortages in districts. And because land is one of the 4 major categories of economic resources, its scarcity directly leads to law and order issues. When one flies over the length and breadth of this country, there is so much vast forest tracts there. And all vacant land is not necessarily state land. It's customary land. And so my question to the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister is whether certain provisions in the Land Act, especially in relation to compulsory acquisition, and especially the definition of public purpose, whether that could be redefined so that the Lands Department, along with, say, the district, can work together to acquire, compulsorily acquire from customary landowners certain tracts of land to resettle some of the people from a particular district in that new area and do it peacefully. like, maybe the customary landowners properly settled, properly compensated. That's my question. If the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister could tell the nation what his department can do in order to ensure that people, say in a particular district, will have other additional land resources outside of their districts so that they can engage in more meaningful activities. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker, and I would like to say thank you to a good member for Rabaul for his very good question that I may be able to explain. As he rightfully pointed out, we have a shortage of government alienated land in Papua New Guinea. Most of our land, 96%, is owned by our people. And we are currently working on trying to free up a lot more of this land through either ways of compulsory acquisition or working together with our customary landowners to increase some parts of our land and make it more. There should be more land available through compulsory acquisition. And to his pertinent question of increasing state land in surrounding areas like Rabaul, for example, and other urban areas, yes, we have provisions for that under the Land Act. That is called either compulsory acquisition or where customary landowners can get together and sell the land to the government for means of development or for means of growth in the urban areas or for government purposes, for development. And you can also see in the budget, the last year and this year's budget, that we have appropriated 150 million kina to work towards increasing our stocks of alienated land in Papua New Guinea to cater for these sort of things. Yes, there is certain provisions allowed in the Land Act for compulsory acquisition by the government to increase land. Example in Rabaul, where you need to resettle people who currently do not have land stocks available. And yes, we are working on increasing stocks of land within NCDC, within the Nadzab urban development area, within areas like Kokopo, within areas like in Leh, areas in Tari, areas in Wewak, so we can increase the stocks of available alienated land that can enable people to build houses, for government to build houses, for our people, for agricultural purposes, for development, to increase growth, economic growth, and also to put roofs over heads for a lot of our people who are currently living in settlements at the moment, especially in places like Mosby and Leh. And with specific acknowledgement to the people of Rabaul, where land shortage is there, I will work closely with the member for Rabaul to see if we can acquire land in the vicinity of Rabaul to expand and make available land for his people through the compulsory acquisition program or through voluntarily relinquishing the land and having them in partnership with government so that we can be able to make land available to resettle some of these people. Thank you.
Supplementary. We have a supplementary from member for Kiri.
On the question of, a very good question, a very good subject. My supplementary is a series of short supplementary questions. Number one, does the Deputy Prime Minister in his capacity as Minister for Lands agree that the legal framework pertaining to management of customary land in this country is insufficient? Number two, if so, acquisition of land, does he also agree, has a tendency to disenfranchise original landowners because he will acquire and displace? Does he also therefore agree that acquisition will not cure the problem and therefore put people into informal sector even more as opposed to formalizing the economy? Number 4, does he also agree, therefore, that we are overdue for a customary land policy to be brought forward for discussion, because there are a lot of competing debates and opinion on how best this matter should be addressed for the economy to be formalized, the economy to be improved, and our people to be meaningfully engaged and formalized in the economy. Thank you. Let to speak.
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Thank you to the good member for Hiri for his very pertinent questions as a learned member of the law. When we say customary compulsory acquisition, I don't go out and compulsory acquire every single person's land without the need to. When we say compulsory, it is an avenue to acquire land, Mr. Acting Speaker, where the people themselves allow that land to be acquired. We sit down and negotiate with them and say, yes, in the best interest of the state, would you like to surrender your land so we can compulsory acquire it? So in the interest of development. And if they tell me to say, no, we don't want to surrender this land to you, then I walk away as a representative of government. We do not go and force them to surrender their lands and force them for government to acquire those lands. That is not the way we do business. And with the 5 pertinent questions that he's raised, it was shot pretty quickly, so if you can have that in writing to me and I can give you a proper technical response to it, I would be glad to do so. But at the same time, the acquisition of land is catered for, and the compulsory acquisition of land is catered for under the Lands Act, and in some places we have worked very well with it. As I have repeatedly said, in places like Tuhava, where the people themselves have surrendered their land freely. We have not acquired it monetarily, but we have acquired it and turned it into state land. We have turned it into state land, 585 hectares, and that land now, before used to stand at the value of 0 monetary value, non-bankable, now stands at, when we first acquired it, at about 200 million kina when we use it through that process. It allows our people to participate meaningfully and not have people squatting on their land, not having their land stolen, not having their land misused by other people of influence, not having people abuse their trust. This minority group of very, very smart clan leaders at Roku village surrendered their land to the state, and it took us 2 years to help them convert the land, and now their land, monetary, bankable, is worth about 200 million to the banks, but in development type, when they build and sell their houses, 4,000 houses at a value of 400,000 kina each, will be to the tune of 1.6 billion kina return on investment to them and the developers. So that is some of the stuff that we are doing. But coming back to the 4 questions raised, please have them sent to me so I can give you a proper, appropriate technical response on it. Thank you very much.
Good one.
The Honourable Member for Talasia.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker Luksavel people of Talasia. Before me asking my question, without notice me like a Salimbik Belsore belong people of Talasia. Because long people blow you me long Usinobuni long passing belong late Minister of Long Education, Jimmy Uburo. My question without notice is directed to the Prime Minister, and the Minister for Constitutional Office can take note as well. Deputy Speaker, my question relates to the integrity and transparency of our electoral system, which have proven in many times to be compromised and abused. The high number of election results that are challenged in the Court of Dispute Returns significantly expose the weakness of our electoral system. The integrity of the system that chooses leaders into this house is the core and fundamental thing that needs to be fixed for all development to rest upon. Deputy Speaker, strategic measures must be put in place by the Parliament before the next set of elections in order to restore voters' confidence and enhance the electoral credibility. My question is, can the Prime Minister enlighten the people of this country if the government is seriously looking at biometric voting system in 2027 national general election and all elections thereafter? Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Honorable Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. Milaktok, thank you long. Question long, member long. Talasea, and I confirm his view that the voting process is important for our country, and we have to tidy the space. Mila give him assurance law, Muslim government law, yet na government law, Yumi, is serious long fixing this issue. Yumi Karem Kam Lomla time. One of my core statement of commitment to our country when I took office again in this term of Parliament was to give assurance that we will look into the entire weaknesses and deficiencies we carry in the electoral process to tidy so that that could become one of our generational gifts to entrench our democracy on the 50th anniversary of our nationhood. It is really in this vein that we've now set up a minister who does not usurp my role as a Prime Minister responsible for constitutional offices, but he assists me in the administration of matters that deals with certain constitutional offices that are important to our democracy and our country. Key amongst them is us also responding to the Parliamentary Committee on the review on elections conducted, and I want to commend the chairmanship of Governor Baird, who also had a relook at what happened in the 2022 elections, and also stepped back and looked into the weaknesses that we carried forward from 2017, 2012, 2027. I want to give an indication that some of these are long inherent weaknesses we carried on the backdrop of a Commonwealth system that is isolated from our national census data. So we now having the new Minister for Administrative Services, he will have a handle on the census we will do this year. We will want to integrate a census into having an NID system that is uniformed, an NID system that picks on people identification from the one population database. And it is from this population database that we want to also develop the common role. And the commitment we have made to our country is that by 2027, there must be some form of ID based, whether it's a biometric ID or a hard ID, for people to have ID to front up, picking up a ballot paper and to go to vote. That is a commitment we have given to this country. It will take quite a big effort on the part of every member of this House, and especially provincial governors, to rally the public servants in the provinces to give support to the principal census that we will undertake this year, and secondly, the next layer of diving into established ID that will be used for voting and all other purposes in our country where lawlessness is abound. And going forward, we want to know who's in our country. There mustn't be person non grata in PNG. Every person in this country must be identified, and on the basis of this identification, we want to go into ID-based voting in 2027. Mr. Speaker, suffice to say, this is a very, very important question. And in the next sitting of Parliament, the Minister for Minister for Administrative Services, the Minister assisting me on constitutional matters, he should update this House on the status of our census and on the status of what each and every one of us should contribute in respect to preparing our country for a better voting process, better ID system, and a better identification of our citizens in our country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The provincial member for Madang.
Acting Speaker. Mr. Acting Speaker, my series of questions without notice is directed to the Minister for State Enterprise. I'd like the Minister for Mining and the Prime Minister to take note. Mr. Acting Speaker, before I proceed, I would like to pass my sincere, heartfelt condolences to the immediate family of the late Minister for Education and my member for Usuno-Bundi Gama District. The people of Usuno-Bundi Gama District in Madang and the people of Greater Madang for the untimely passing of the late Minister. Mr. Acting Speaker, back to the question. I have a serious concern on the recent signing of a memorandum of understanding between the Ramoniko Management Limited and the Kumul Mineral Holdings Limited on the 9th of January 2024. I understand that the MOU was for a feasibility study on the downstream processing arrangement of minerals in Madang. However, Mr. Acting Speaker, my concern is that I'm not pleased with the way the state, through the Kumul Mineral Holdings Limited and the Ramoniko Management Limited, conducted themselves in that arrangement, even if it was just for a feasibility study or an actual project. Mr. Acting Speaker, my reason is that Madang is the host province of the Ramoniko project, and Madang Provincial Government is an important stakeholder in the Ramoniko project. But the provincial government and I were not made aware of such an arrangement between the Kumul Mineral Holdings Limited and the Ramoniko Management Limited. The signing of the MOU was a surprise to me, Mr. Acting Speaker. It is an utter contempt and disrespect to the people of Madang. Why? Because the Madang Provincial Government is an important stakeholder in the Ramoniko project, and therefore is supposed to be a party and part and parcel of this feasibility study arrangement, or even an actual project that will happen in the future. It must start on phase one, ground level up. Mr. Acting Speaker, Madang Provincial Government should and will never be a spectator in its own province. Madang Provincial Government, so as other provincial government in this country, must be participant in any major economic impact project in this country. There must be a paradigm shift from being a spectator to a participant by all provincial governments in all economic impact projects in their provinces that are going to be initiated by a state and any investor. Mr. Acting Speaker, but just recently we've seen the state through the Kumul Mineral Holdings Limited and the Ramoniko Management went around the back of the people of Madang and entered into an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, for the downstream processing arrangement.
Honorable Governor, I will ask you to go straight to your question.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. My questions are, can the Minister explain to the people of Madang what are the nature of the MOU that was signed recently between the Kumul Mineral Holdings Limited and the Ramoniko Management Limited? Secondly, can the Minister explain whether the downstream processing of minerals will be established in Madang Province or any other province apart from Madang Province? Thirdly, if the downstream processing of minerals will be established in Madang, whether Madang Provincial Government would be included as an important stakeholder and a party to that project in the future when the project takes place. Fourthly and lastly, Mr. Acting Speaker, if the Madang provincial government could not be included as a party and a part and parcel of the project, can the Minister explain why? Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker.
The Honourable Minister for State Enterprise.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. I want to also, before I respond to the question by the good governor for Madang Province, I want to take this time to, on behalf of the people that I represent, extend our heartfelt condolences to the people of Gama, especially in the Usino Bundi electorate, for the tragic and untimely loss of one of their sons and, of course, one of our fellow national leaders, the late Honorable G. Gro. He was one of those ministers who was, in my opinion, a reformist minister. He did his best to reform the current education system, and I want to say our heartfelt condolences to the people of Usino Bundi. Mr. Assistant Speaker, turning to the very important questions by the Governor of Madang, I want to first emphasize that under the current mining regime that we have, it is designed in such a way, Mr. Acting Assistant Speaker, that in terms of exploring and putting up the money and dealing with the risks that are inherent in speculative industry like mining and oil, we allow developers or investors to spend their money doing the hard work of exploring. And when they're able to locate commercial discoveries or large resource bodies, then the government, through the current regime, makes sure that it is able to exercise its option to acquire up to 20% or 30% in mining projects. After the government acquires the interest up to 30%, it then negotiates with the impacted landowners and the provincial government so that they then become shareholders of this process. So ultimately, in the end, Mr. Assistant Acting Speaker, you will find that our provincial governments and the impacted landowners are not left out through the current regime that we have for the mining as well as the oil and gas sector. So in the case of the recent signing of the MOU that was signed on the 9th of January, just last month, between Ramon Nickel Mine and Kumul Mineral Holdings Limited, it is only a MOU which is designed to go for only 12 months, where both Kumul Mineral Holdings Limited and Ramon Nickel Mine will take the risk and put their own money to conduct the technical and financial feasibility study to work out whether there are enough resources, nickel, copper, and cobalt in that area of our province of Madang. And if the feasibility studies prove that the resources there are feasible and economically feasible, then of course we will allow the normal process of allowing the company which has the exploration permit to do the feasibility studies, and once they go to a stage where you end up with what is known as bankable feasibility studies, then all the boxes are ticked, and therefore that proposed investment will become feasible, and that is when the government negotiates up to 30%, acquires 30% equity in that project, and then the government allocates or shares the equity with the impacted landowners and the provincial government. So at this stage, Mr. Acting Speaker, I want to, on behalf of Kumul Mineral Holdings, apologize to the good governor of Madang and his people for not informing them of this. In fact, the Prime Minister and myself were given only 1 day notice by both Kumul Mineral Holdings and Ramon Nickel. So we simply turned up to witness the MOU signing between two companies. At this point in time, there is no requirement for the national government or my ministry or even the Madang provincial government to be involved. It is a stage where the two companies conduct the MOU, enter into the MOU and conduct the feasibility studies. They spend their own money. If they find that it is a feasible project, that is when we all become involved. And of course, the people of Madang, through their government, will be asked to be involved. and we will discuss the economics of this project. So, but once again, it was not intended to leave out anyone. It was something that happened at short notice, and of course, our Prime Minister and I, to pay some respect to this private venture effort, decided to just go there to witness. And I can say that both the national government or my ministry are not signatories to this MOU. It is an MOU signed between two investors. They have agreed to pool their resources and their expertise. And if during the next 11 or 12 months, their studies prove that there is enough resource to make it economical, then of course we will go through the normal phase. So, and I can assure the governor that once the feasibility studies prove that that area has enough reserves that will underpin a project, then we will of course inform the people of Madang to the provincial government. And I can also take this opportunity to assure our people of Madang that in the event the feasibility studies prove that the reserves they are economically enough to go down the path of setting up a nickel or cobalt or even a copper refining process, that facility will definitely be located in Madang. And that will be another area where we will then discuss the subject of benefit sharing arrangements. So at this stage, it is premature for us to be talking about that because we at this stage do not know the outcome of the MOU. But as I said earlier, we have received indication from both Kumul Mineral Holdings and Ramon Nickel that if the feasibility studies prove that it's a project that can go down the path of commercialization, then we will make sure that the facilities will be located in Madang, and that our impacted landowners as well as the provincial government will be allowed to take up equity in the project up to a minimum of 30%, which is the existing and prevailing policy of this government. I can also inform this Parliament that when Papua New Guinea became one of the members of the nickel exporting countries, it was an agreement that was negotiated by the governor of the Grand Chief Sir Michael Customary at that time. But unfortunately, for Kumul Mineral Holdings Limited, it was not able to exercise its option to acquire equity in that project. So at this stage, our national-owned company, Kumul Mineral Holdings, does not have any equity. And I can inform Parliament that we are having discussions with Ramu Nickel with a view to taking some equity, because we have been informed that they have made discoveries of lithium in that area. So as we all know, lithium is a value-added resource which we need to take advantage to see if we can get some benefits for this. So we are negotiating with Ramon Nickel, and hopefully through this MOU, if we're able to, if the results show that there is enough resource in that area to underpin a project, then we will use it as an opportunity to also negotiate the possibility of adding lithium to this project so that we can, as a country, benefit more. So once again, to conclude, I can assure the governor that once, if and when the feasibility studies prove that there is enough commercial resources to underpin a project, then of course, as is the case in all our projects right throughout the country, our people will be allowed through the provincial government and the impacted landowners to take up equity up to a minimum of 30% in any project, as is the current practice in all our mining projects. Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker.
We have a supplementary. The member for Bani Green.
Mr. Speaker, just by listening to the good Minister for State-owned Enterprises, my supplementary is, why isn't the state as the regulator have feasibility over the negotiation between those two investors? State should have feasibility. We should be the regulator. This resource belongs to the people of this country. Hence the question by the good governor for Madang, even the resource owners must be involved in this negotiation, because it is about what is in what is the deposit in that particular area. Minister cannot say that state does not have feasibility. My question is, why isn't the state involved, and why isn't the state as the regulator have feasibility over the negotiation between these two investors, and why? Feasibility. And why under landowners and the provincial government? Why are the landowners and the provincial government involved? Because it is their resource. Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank the good member for Wanamal Green River for this important question. The simple answer is this. Apart from God himself, no one knows what is below our ground, even 6 meters below our ground. We need investors who have the resources and the technical know-how to investigate. And that can only be done through just one investor itself who is prepared to take all the risks and invest in our country, usually a foreign company.
What's your point?
That is not my supplementary. What I'm saying is, he is telling this House that two investors have signed MOU. My question is, why isn't the state having feasibility over this?
Visibility.
Do the feasibility studies. That's what I'm saying. Why isn't the state involved as the regulator?
Honourable Member, your point of order is in order. Minister, get to the point where the member raised question on it, and we can move on.
Thank you, Mr. Assistant Acting Speaker. For the member to understand, I have to explain. No one knows what is below the surface. I don't know. No investor, unless the investor has deep pockets, will be prepared to spend its own money drilling and even coming up with nothing. In most cases, you can drill 6 or 7 holes, and maybe you'll be lucky to find oil or gas in one of them. That is normal in this industry. So in this case, our own company, Customary Holdings, has decided to give confidence to this investor who wants to spend its own money to explore for what is down there. If that exploration proves unsuccessful and nothing is located, then of course the investor writes it off. They have deep pockets, unlike us. So at this point in time, when the exploration stage, the state only issues exploration licenses to those who want to explore for resources. So that is the only way where the state comes in. At the exploration stage, the state only allows investors to explore, meaning it allows them access to our people's land. Without an exploration permit, no foreign investor has a right to go into our people's land. It is through this regime that we allow those who have the money and the know-how to come into our land and to explore. They are permitted to explore. And in most cases, no one knows what is down there. So the investor takes the risk. So there is no need for the state to be involved unless the state wants to do the exploration itself. Unless the state has the resources and the technical know-how to do the exploration itself. In this case, we don't have that. So here is an investor who wants to spend its own money in combination with our own national company. They are prepared to spend their money engaging experts to do the exploration and do the feasibility. If they're able to, with luck, find some reserves, that is when the state, through the MRA and all the other regulatory authorities, come in to guide that investment. Mr. Acting Speaker, thank you.
The Honourable Deputy Opposition Leader.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. Firstly, Mr. Acting Speaker, I seek leave of the House to extend question time.
Honourable members.
Yes.
Honourable Deputy Opposition Leader, you are to move to extend the question time.
Before I ask my question without notice, Acting Speaker, I move that we extend question time.
Yes. Yes.
The question is that those in favour that the question time be extended for 20 minutes, please stand. Honorable member, you may be seated. If you have the support, the question time is extended for 20 minutes. Opposition leader.
Mr. Acting Speaker, my question without notice goes to the good Prime Minister, who's currently also the Treasurer. Mr. Acting Speaker, currently Papua New Guineans are going through a cost of living crisis where they're struggling to afford basic KK like tin fish and rice. And these inflationary pressures are exacerbated because of the fuel crisis that we're currently experiencing with what's happening with Puma. It's also further exacerbated by the devaluation of the kina. And my question to the good Treasurer, my question to the good Treasurer, who's is simply this: what's our target for inflation for 2024? What's the plan to achieve that target, and how will this impact on the cost of living crisis currently faced by ordinary Papua New Guineans? Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker.
The Honourable Treasurer and Prime Minister.
Excuse me. Mr. Deputy Speaker, Acting Speaker, I want to appreciate the member for Suave and the Deputy Opposition Leader for asking a very important question. I want to give some background context to his question. The inflation issue has been much talked about in our economy. Mr. Deputy Speaker, from my recollections, global inflation in 2021 was a little under 5%, possibly 4.7%. 2022 global inflation a little over 6%. 2023, sorry, I beg your pardon. 2021 global inflation over 8%. COVID-19 is the reason. 2022 global inflation over 6%. 2023 over 6% again. This year global inflation is expected to be around 4%. Inflation is not just unique to Papua New Guinea. Especially in an import-dependent economy like PNG over many, many years, where even basic food items like rice we keep on importing. Protein we keep on importing. And this government on our side have been working hard for import substitution. With note Minister Maru's overdrive to ramp up rice production in our country and to replace the food that we import at the very earliest. The importation of inflation into our country, when we have over-dependence on imports, we live with the reality that inflation happening elsewhere will be brought into our country. This year, in response to his last question, we expect inflation in PNG to be around 5%. This is a little bit lower than global average, I beg your pardon, a little bit higher than global average at 4%. But last year and previous year, our inflation that was around 5% and below at 5-6% was lower than global inflation average. If I step back before the Pangu administration's inflation average, you have to look at different segment of our nation's history, the average of inflation. Inflation has been something we've been living with for the last, for as many years as we've been independent. Different administrations have their different ranges of inflation. I want to say, the Pangu-led government's inflation average has been around 5%. Now, we are not incognizant to the hardship our people are going through, Mr. Deputy Speaker, Acting Speaker rather. The fact that we are able to give the highest ever tax relief in our nation's history, that ensures that over 100,000 low-income earners earning under 20,000 don't pay tax anymore. And as far as net take-home is concerned, they're getting minimum above 63 kina. That relief has not been given in as many years. The last time a relief similar of nature has been given was by the PNG administration. From around 7,500, it was uplifted to 12,500. If I'm not wrong, if my memory is not failing me, around 2013 or 2012. Mr. Speaker, that is in direct response to the hard time our people are going through. We removed tax from those who were earning below 20,000 kina. To put you some context, when I was a university graduate, my second job in Heights gas field, I was earning 16,000 kina a year. I was paying tax that time. Today, for those university graduates earning around 20,000 kina, you're not paying tax anymore. Tax has been removed from your salary. Mr. Speaker, I want to give assurance we are mindful that our people are going through a hard time. That is in response to inflation. I want to say, Mr. Speaker, the second measure we've introduced to assist our people, we are giving them school fee assistance. School fee assistance means over 1 billion kina, including over 200 million kina that could have been collected from parents in the form of project fee, are not collected. The lower educational classes in our country sees parents putting children to our state schools with no payment of school fee at all. So if a family has 3 children, before 2019, they would have paid over 600 kina as project fee going to primary school and high school. Today they don't pay that project fee anymore. It is retained in their pocket. This is money retained so that parents could cover the cost of the 5% increase in the price of goods and services from last year to today. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I want to give assurance to our country. IRC has been given enough support now to relook at making GST collection system flexible enough. Last year, Treasurer Yenling Staki attempted a relief of basic essential household items, meaning we're trying to remove tax from rice, tin fish, mother sanitation, and all these basic essential household for our people. But as he was trying to introduce the relief, our system is configured in a rigid manner where you don't remove tax from this and others you charge the 10% GST. Knowing this rigid system we have in our GST configuration, what we've done is now put money to IRC, never put before by any government. IRC, the agency that has collected money in the past, has never been assisted by any government. I'm not playing politics. That's what we're doing. Putting money into IRC. We've now this year given over 88 million kina to IRC to reboot, reconfigure. Hopefully in time, before our 50th anniversary, IRC will have a flexible GST calculation system where governments into the future, if times get hard for our people, government can then, at the press of a button, ask for GST to be removed from essential household items as we tried under Treasurer Yenling Staki. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, Acting Speaker, we know our people are going through hard times. Our construct of budget 2021, budget 2022, budget 2023, and now budget 2024 has elements of subsidy and support to our people in hard times to mitigate the increase in price as a result of inflation in country that is also contributed by inflation that is imported externally. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We have a supplementary. I'll have the supplementary from the Speaker, Provincial Member.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. Let me first of all, on behalf of the people of Papua New Guinea, appreciate the assistance that's been given by the government thus far. But I think the point that is being asked is how much further can you go? And really the question is, what's happening between the fiscal policy and the monetary policy in order to bring these costs down? Whilst you are giving some relief to 100,000 Papua New Guineans who are working, I remind the Prime Minister that we have 14 million Papua New Guineans at least in the country. So the question from the opposition is, what are you doing in terms of monitoring and, in fact, merging fiscal and monetary policies so that we can work these two together to bring inflation down, whilst appreciating the fact that inflation is increasing around the world? Thank you, Mr.
The Honourable Prime Minister.
All right, Mr. Acting Speaker, I want to appreciate the supplementary question. Monetary policy and fiscal policy work in tandem, but on this side of the House, we don't intend to dig deeper into the independence of the monetary policy. Monetary policy is governed by the central bank. They assist the fiscal policy. They are twin anchor policies that keeps the economy in check and balance going forward. We're working closely with the central bank. I want to put to you, Mr. Acting Speaker, that the fact that Kina has now been allowed to free flow on the market on the strength of its own value. This is not strictly an IMF-directed free float of Kina. Kina must find its place on the market. Some years back, in fact, possibly 2015, 2016, the unholy alliances of the Office of Prime Minister and Central Bank saw Kina artificially pegged. Kina artificially pegged. Kina must not be artificially pegged. Kina must allow the free flow on the market. Therefore, and our government on this side consciously allow for Kina to go back to its market value, so that on the side we have a policy that is strongly focused. And Governor, I want to say, Governor Baird finds comfort on the other side. He should be more on this side, simply because of a focus on rural economy to be unleashed. We gave, for instance, the support for the 300 million Kina European Union Partnership Program in East Sepik and West Sepik. Later it will be expanded to Momasa and the rest of the country, so that our growers can be growing cacao and the produce of the land. In a time when Kina value comes down, we expect remittance from earnings of export to come in. They get better value for Kina coming to economy. They get better value for Kina coming to economy. And we're cautious of the effect of the Kina being placed on its strength of its value on the market. At the moment, I want to advise our country that the Kina seems to be coming down. There'll be a time when Kina hits its natural level, and we expect production from Oktedi. Production and ramp up. This week, Friday, Mr. Acting Speaker, I want to announce to this House, this week, Friday, I'm invited to go to Pogra for the first ever gold pour. First ever gold pour to the many prophets of doom on the other side. Not those who just went on the other side recently, but the hardcore on the other side. The hardcore on the other side who think Pogra will never be reopened. Today, under better benefit sharing arrangement that is far better than Lihir, far better than any other resource project ever negotiated, Pogra gold for the first time will be poured this week, Friday, first gold poured. When the earnings from these resources come back into a country, Kina will then appreciate its natural place. There's a fine balance within Kina and its natural place that gives value to export earning more Kina into our country and imports being paid at a lesser price. We are not economic illiterates running this country, Mr. Acting Speaker. We know exactly what is good for our country, short term, mid term, and long term. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Goroka. Honourable members, I'm sorry, I will not allow for supplementary. All of you have voted in extension of the question time, and I'd just like to allow for other questions so that we don't spend more time on one question and allow other members. I'm sorry, I've already called for a member for Goroka for the question. All member for Goroka.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, for looks out the people of Goroka. Deputy Speaker, Mr. Rapia to one kind too long. Salim Sore Blomilo people of Goroka Golong. Chief Mona, Governor of Medeng Province. Now what the good people of Medeng. Late passing blong good minister. na member blo sino bundi people blo goroka iluk sawe na stapan temi lo disla time longa sore blo you. Deputy Speaker, question blo me without notice pa bi termai go lo good blood work in minister blonga works and supply na papa iluk atu ma connect PNG. Before me to talk lo connect PNG, Deputy Speaker, maki mouse long people blo goroka na dalo na probably one kind to lo chimbu. Me like talk thank you through the Marape Rosso government, the rehabilitation belong Dalo Pass. Dalo Pass, Mr. Speaker, Deputy Speaker, one road where I'm saying problem, me plenty travelers inside the Islands Highway. So this law, yes, thank you, good blood member belong Jalibu Pangia, lo correct him this law. This law project where I'm connect PNG or rehabilitation of Islands Highway. Thank you, Masgolo man who said he walk him. Thank you, Masgolo government who said he put in more money.
Honorable member for Gorka, we have a point of order. Member for Bulolo, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, 20 minutes and league time. While we are praising and worshipping each other, the time is running. Can we get to the point?
Honorable member, your point of order is in order. I'll ask the member to make your statement short. Get to the question and the ministers can respond to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Deputy Speaker and member Bulolo. Me like just talk, Maki Mouse lo people Goroka and Eastern Islands. You got time when people talk, people must talk. Thank you. Thank you and big something. Awesome. So me like talk. Thank you, Lodisla. Lodisla rehabilitation blo Dalo Pass. The good member of Dalo. Sorry, member of Bulolo. Maybe I'm not sure travel islands have plenty of time. So I'm not sure the hardship where me plus facing long.
Honorable member, get to your question. Honorable member, ask your question.
Isla Road. I'm sure taking me 1 hour to go to Dalo Pass stop. Summit Nakandalo Chave. Now it's taking us 30 minutes, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I mean, like talk, thank you, Lord Isla. That's a big cut of time. Not only to the people of Goroka, but islands. So, thank you. What time Isla ban become the question, Blomi? Long speech, long good blood minister. I mean, Tokosem, lo paper blangam Tokosem, put him 4-lane blong Ketarobo, go on tablo Kabufa. So this law.
Honorable member for Goroka, we have a point of order.
You ruled the other day that because it is on the notice paper, discussions on the subject are not allowed. And now you are allowing the member for Goroka privilege when you denied it previously, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable ECP provincial member, the speaker is still listening to the question. He just begun, and I've already have in mind that he will say something in line to what you have raised in point of order. So, honorable member for Goroka, I think the honorable provincial member for ECP's point of order is in order. I think you have mentioned something in related to the statement done by the minister earlier. I have ruled against that. If there is any question in regard to that ministerial statement, that it has been on notice paper, so we can't ask any question in related to the ministerial statement being given by the Minister for Works. And honorable member for Goroka, I'd like to remind you again, when the speaker talks, you must resume your seat while the speaker talks. So. That I'll rule your question out of order. I've reserved a question for member for North Bougainville. Member for North Bougainville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Acting Speaker. Me got one pla ask him, he go along Minister of Works. No good and banana pla you allow him to yalaga. But you allow him no.
Honorable member, if your question is related to the ministerial statement he have raised, then I will rule that out too.
Acting Speaker, ask him below me. You want to ask him, he go along Minister of Works. Now last year, we've been asking you, Christmas finish, New Year finish too. Mr. Speaker, ask him below me, go along Minister of Works, he go along Harp Road, Pitono, he go along Kesa, and 5-kilometer road. Igolong Bukaring Road, we karmapim tegese, hapan, be, kahule, ramunpan na bekama long backside long place palus long buka. Igo long this la main trunk road lo east, Bougainville trunk road, start long Sierra, igo up long Inus, and long ceiling now. Prime Minister asked them to lose him all get a proposal, long all get a road long North Bougainville is in down long office below you. You by scaling, Mr. Minister, now you talking me, how much money through? Me harim all money you put him long get a road lo paping in a me jealous ya. The easiest ring roads to seal is in North Bougainville and Bougainville for that matter. Mr. Minister. Question now. One time through, but you sorry lo mipla lo buka, na you put him hand mark, long this la all walk inside lo buka ring road, complete him 5 kilometer, long pito now igo long kesa, na seal him, belong Sierra igo na long Inus. Sierra Korabopi, walk lo on now. One time through, Minister, but you sorry lo mipla na seal him all road way me talk long him now. I will keep on raising it until I get some money. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Minister for Works.
Me through you, Deputy Speaker, na Acting Speaker. Me too, like Magi Mouse blow, people blow telephone in, lo, this blow time lo, Sarem talk sorry blow me blow, lo people blow, Usino Bundi, lo die blow, colleague, Minister, Honourable Jimmy, Uguro. Me also, through you, Acting Speaker, me like talk, good luck question. Member of law, not Bougainville, ask him. I ask him finish. Na last year, I ask him na me yet to go down long Buka. Na me rule display road. Lo Buka town go lo Bitono. One block good block contractor start lo hap na me seal him display road. Na me agree one the mem long. Especially this la hap lo seal him. All the display ring road, Buka ring road. Na all napla road lo nambi so sem Buka. Still by stop long plat time of 30 to 40 years. So I agree with them. Now I got good block contractor I base lo hap. Now I still him this road. He go lo Bitono. Now lo Bitono go lo Gesa. He been got one block contract again. ABG government he been giving me go long. Now block contractor. Now block contractor. Now I been affect him. This block continue 18 long. Same contractor lo continue, lo finish him this lo Buka Ring Road, lo seal him, come back lo Buka Airport. That's why whole up been stopped. So me go talk to one them APG president, na me pla agree with them 5 kilometer long Boitono, Bitono go long Gesa, contractor give him by me make him. Na long Gesa na come back lo Buka Airport. And by me like give him lo contractor outside me seal go stopless plaham. Na me play come back, na me play make him all paperwork stop because he got money stop lo front finish na. Lo start him again, me play must take him all the paperwork past them. So me play work long end. Connect PNG underneath lo display government, M2 focus more long. Identify him Fopla Road, Buka Ring Road, number 1. Na igat narapla tripla road lo mainland. Tominapu go long Kangu. Na narapla road online lo mipla long Aropa. Higo lo Tominapu too. Na last one by Buin Gamlo Panguna. So Buin Gamlo Panguna first time by come out of tender. Last week that's all me play straight him all NEC all paper long. All this contractor been installed long plat time one time we got all plenty issues. Close to 6 years. So me play straight in paperwork go come, not apply NEC by go now. By all
make a response to a series of questions asked by the member for Wanama Green yesterday on the law and order issues in our country.